welcome to this week's tech session. I'm Jeff Garell, and today I'd like to show you some of the tools and methods we use to provide managed services and support hundreds and hundreds of desktops and servers all across the Commonwealth. I'd like to show you how we do this to give you some ideas and options to support your suddenly remote workforce. Yes, we will have some special offers to help you provide that support, or even just give you access to some of the tools I'm about to show you to allow you to better manage all those remote endpoints. So what makes this possible without needing to hire an army of engineers and technicians? It's a combination of monitoring and management tools we deploy and a proactive approach to keeping systems healthy to avoid those emergency issues. It's proactive versus reactive mindset that makes the difference. In all honesty, it starts with the people we hire, whether it's some grizzled old veteran like this guy or the talented younger team members we have. We all understand and strive to serve our customers that have put their trust in us. Without the right people, the best tools in the world wouldn't provide a level of service you should expect. The hammer doesn't build the house, the skilled worker using that hammer does. But you want to hear about the tools and platforms we use and not listen to me wax poetic about my team. So here we go. A variety of tools, all with integrations to each other that make our operations as seamless as possible. Our RMM provider is Continuum. They give us the management and monitoring tools we need to take care of your server and desktop infrastructure, including monitoring VMware and Hyper-V hosts. Once we deploy the lightweight agents onto a customer's devices, we're able to not only get up to the minute status and performance metrics, but we can perform patch management, a huge number of automated system administration tasks, and we have a path to securely connect to a system for either maintenance or as part of a support issue. For network monitoring, we use a product from Auvik Networks to keep an eye on your switches, wireless access points and controllers, and firewalls. It's not just up-down monitoring. We get traffic analysis and flow data to help identify and remediate any issues on the network. It also lets us access these devices to perform configuration changes. In addition, we can deploy SOC or Security Operations Center type of services through SentinelOne to not only monitor the security of all of your devices, monitor the event logs, correlate any issues, and provide response and remediation whenever the SOC sees traffic or activity that shouldn't be on your network or devices. All of these tools generate alerts and simple notifications that flow into our professional service automation tool called ConnectWise. This is where we keep track of any issues, schedule preventative maintenance like patch management, track our SLAs or service level agreement performance, and helps us triage any issues coming in so we can make sure we're working on the most critical tasks first. So let's take a look at a few of these tools before we continue. All right, so here we have the Continuum portal. This is the dashboard view. Kind of gives you a snapshot of the status of your servers and your endpoint devices, in particular PCs, Macs, that kind of thing. You can see device availability, how many you have of desktop servers, etc., and how many are actually online and off. Any critical events. I've got one desktop that seems to have some disk space issues. We'll have to look at that. Your VMware hosts, patch status, desktop patch status, and then your endpoint protection, your AV. I got another one that needs some AV installed on it. So this is the first view you get. Again, it'll kind of give you a good idea of what's going on. From here, let's take a look at the devices themselves. In this view, you see all your desktops and servers. You can filter and say, I just want desktops. And it filtered out our servers. You can see what it's called, whether LogMeIn is installed on it or not, and available for a support request, who the last person to log in was, and if they're currently logged in, the last time that machine was restarted, what OS, and Is endpoint protection up, running, and synced? If you had any critical tickets on one of these, you would see account, and we'd be able to just click on it. If we go into one of these devices, let's pick this one, we can actually see some stats on it. How's it been performing? What's its memory? We can look at the last 7 days, the last 14 days. There we go. The last 24 hours. We can see what it is, what IP address it's getting. If it was on our internal network. Instead, we're getting the external. It's disks, space, how much is in use. If we had any tickets open on it, we'd be able to see those. If we'd run any recent automation, we'd see the status of those. This is extremely helpful. Here is the actual inventory of the machine, right? Especially if you never need to call in for a warranty call on something, right there. There's your serial number. You can see the accounts, what shares it has. What kind of CPU, what kind of memory it has available. You can actually go in and look at processes and services. We know these are all the services. If we want to sort on which ones are running. And then any notes you might have. Now from here, we can also connect remotely using LogMeIn to get on that machine. But even more interesting is this dashboard. And from here, we can go ahead and log in. And without interrupting the user, we can start gathering some information, right? So here we see the top 5 events. Now, today, and for the past few weeks, just like a lot of people, this user has been working from home. So when she starts up her machine, obviously group policy isn't going to fire off because it can't talk to the domain controller till you VPN in. So these aren't scare errors, but the fact is, if there were some, we could see it. You can see current CPU, memory. You can see network traffic, disk space. I mean, you get a lot of information just from this screen. However, even more interesting is that if I needed to drop a file on her desktop, or I needed to pull one off, like say a performance log or an error log, you can do that again without even bothering the user, making them stop doing their work. Or if you needed to say have them run an application, you could just drop the app anywhere in here, right? And boom, tell them to run it. You can give them a little chat from here. So we sometimes do this. Oops, not on my MacBook, we don't. We sometimes do this before we actually make the remote connection, just to not startle somebody and make sure that they're not looking at anything sensitive, especially for our healthcare customers. Computer management. Under here, you can look at users and groups that are on the device. can look at your event viewers, just as if you were on the machine. Again, we're not bothering the user yet. We're just going to do some quick checking, a little intelligence gathering before we need to possibly knock the user off the machine. You can also reboot. So say they're not there to restart a machine, you can just sit here and force reboot it. Your computer settings, you can look at your environment variables, shared resources. Do they have the right time? And if you want to set it. Scheduling, you can see task schedulers, see if things are operating properly. And then some more detailed stats on CPU, memory, disk space. You get the idea. A lot of the stuff that we like to see that we end up looking at after we've already interrupted the user from their job. Then from here, we've determined that we do need to connect in. So we say OK. Since we've already provided credentials, it should log us in. Now, if you know that you don't need to do this intelligence gathering, you just need to go straight into the remote control, we can do that right here. Kind of takes away one of the stops on the way to getting them some help. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. We're going to include our servers here. Again, with servers, take a look. We get some of the same data. We see that this is running on VMware. Look at the last 12 hours if somebody was complaining about something. Looks like some backups were happening there. We look at tickets. Again, any automation we've run recently. Applications. The inventory. Now, with this, since it's a VM, we're probably not going to get any serial number data. And we once again have the ability, the screen opened way up on me, to do the log me in thing. And so that's the main screen that we work out of, that kind of gives us a snapshot of what's going on, right? Now, other points of interest, patch management. Huge problem, especially if your users aren't on-prem to get WSUS or some other patch management service to push those out. In this case, we seem to be doing pretty good. I've got 3 machines that haven't been seen on the network for a while. I've got a couple of machines here that look like they need patch assessments, both in this case, for Windows patches and third-party patches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to select this user. I'm going to run an OS patch assessment. I'm going to create the job. I'm going to select on-demand third-party patch assessment. We already have selected the one desktop, so I'm going to say run this immediately. And create the job. And then once we get our assessment data back, we'll be able to pretty much come here and select and deploy missing patches. And occasionally we get restart needed, right? So there's a few statuses that we care about that we can filter on, especially if you have tons of machines like some of our customers do. So I usually start by looking for the ones that say not current. Those are ones I need to push missing patches out to. Others that I really look for is I'll filter on restart needed. And that tells me machines that the patches have been pushed out to, but the person has not rebooted their machine afterwards, which, as you know, can cause some issues and not allow the patches to apply. And so for restart neededs, we can schedule a forced restart. And now at that point, you can either say, do it now, just do it now. Just right this minute, just go ahead and reboot them, which is kind of rude. But the other option is to schedule it. And so the challenge there is scheduling it, especially with laptop users. Schedule it for a time after they're done working, but hopefully before they close the darn lid. Because, once the machine is basically put to sleep, you can't do anything about it. And at that point, then it's time to start notifying those users that it's been 5 or 10 days since you pushed out the patches and they just need to go ahead and restart, or you're going to do it in the middle of the day. Or get their managers to tell them that. Either way. Now, also available are a pile of scripts that, again, without bothering the end user, you can come in and do application deployments, So you can do application deployments. There are hundreds of them, and a lot of these go way back. But here's 137 there. You can write custom scripts. And so you just select this, create a new script, and Bash, JavaScript, PowerShell, Python, whatever it is you need to do that there isn't already something built for, you can write your custom scripts. Data collection. Do I need to grab a screenshot for legal reasons, I would presume? You need to retrieve some information. Somebody says they can't get to printer X. Well, you can run this. You can run this data collection. Go look at it before you even reach out to the customer to start resolving their problem. You'll already know. Well, it's there. It's connected. You're just doing something wrong, or we need to go ahead and map it. Desktop monitoring. You can look at memory, CPU utilization, event logs, and pull those up on demand pretty much from these scripts. You can configure shutdowns, power management. Make sure that if you're paying the electric bill, you don't want all these idle machines just chewing up electrons. You can do some maintenance, configure registry settings, defrag drives, a giant pile of things you can run here. Security related, you can add restricted sites, trusted sites. You can do a lot of those group policy things where maybe you control some desktop settings. You can push those out here. There's a lot to go through. And for new user setups, you can add a user to AD. Now the neat thing is you can sit there and come through and chain a bunch of these together in batches, so that you say, okay, well, I've got a new user. I'm going to plug in this user, and I need to make them local admin for whatever reason. I'm going to configure their Outlook settings, blah, 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 and then you fire off that batch, and it, for the most part, takes care of a lot of those provisioning steps for you for new users. You can map a network printer. So again, we go back to our Let's see what printers you have. Oh, okay. Well, let me just run this script, and I'm going to map that one that you say you don't have, because I also don't see it. Then you've got reporting. And there are, as would be expected, lots of reports. You can take a look at any machines that haven't been powered on, basically, that the agent hasn't checked in lately. You can see alert suspensions. Here's an important one. Especially if you have a few people that are allowed to do the remote access thing into other users' machines, there's an access report. You set up individual users. You wonder who was the last one that logged into Mary's PC and messed it up. Yeah, this is where you find that out. You can verify updates. Did off-hours maintenance happen? Is everyone's machine updated? Here's one of my favorite ones, the installed software change report. You know you've gotten that call. And yesterday everything was working fine. Today suddenly it's not. And you usually ask, what did you change? Have you changed anything in the last 24 hours? And the answer is inevitably no. Well, now you can run this particular report and give it the 24 or 48 hours, and it'll tell you all of the new software or software that's been removed, all the changes software related on that particular machine. And you can ask them about the birthday card maker app they installed yesterday. You know what I'm talking about. You can also run warranty reports. Obviously, this wouldn't really work for VMs, but anything on a physical piece of hardware that the BIOS has the serial number in, you got it. So that was just a quick review of what we can offer out of Continuum. I was just logged in as a client site manager user. And so these are the options that you would have access to. As the managed service provider, there's a few other things that we get access to, but not a whole lot. We get a deeper level of access to certain things, and of course we can see all of our customer base, not just limited to the account that the client site manager account is set up for. So next we'll move on to Avik. Now we'll give you a brief overview of the Avik portal. This is our network management platform. It watches switches, firewalls, wireless access points, wireless controllers. Technically, it can take a look at printers and monitor, to a lesser degree, desktops and servers. But we find this most useful for the networking side of the operation. As you can see, you've got a pretty little picture of all the stuff in our network. We got our firewall, some switches. You can hover over. On this view, you could see if one of these switches was down, there'd be a little lightning bolt on it, and you'd know this is where I need to go, and I'm going to go ahead and I'd click on that, and I'd see the two switches, and I'd know which one was giving me the problems, and then I could click into that even further. And now I'm looking at the specific device details, and we're going to pull this up. We can see what kind of switch it is. Of course, it's currently up. We have 42 of 75 interfaces lit and running. We've had some warnings, some informational stuff. You can come down and take a look at bandwidth utilization across the switch. There's not a whole lot going on because, well, there's not a whole lot of people in the office these days. And then you can go top interfaces, that kind of thing. Now that's just from the dashboard view. From here, we can even go further into what are all my VLANs. Now, we have a lot of VLANs for being such a small company, but a lot of that is based on building out demos and evaluations for our customers on our network, because we have a whole demo lab available that includes just about everything important that HPE has to offer. So if we wanted to see kind of a greater view of things, we could pull up all our networks, all our devices, all our interfaces. 417 of them. And again, we can come through, we can see which switch port it is, which switch it is, which port, what kind of access it has. Just keep going. Again, we would see alerts, we would see issues that may be coming up. Now, some other interesting things we can do is remote management. So since we've logged in and we've configured it to allow us to do the remote management. So in this case, we could do a terminal session onto this particular switch. And it's going to ask me for my AVIC password. Oh, nope, it didn't this time because I already did it. I'm at the console. Now, I'm recording this from home. I'm not on a VPN into our network. I am on the AVIC console. I'm able to get to the console screen of this particular switch and pretty much any other switch and make any changes I need to make or do more discovery of perhaps an issue. All without having to VPN in. Now, this is one of the things that really helps us out with our customers in particular, because we don't have to bounce off of their server and install a putty or something on that just so we can then console into a server or into a switch. Ditto with firewalls. You can also do the remote browser thing if that particular device, which this one does, has a web interface. We can remote into that, connect in, make similar kinds of changes. We have a tendency to go, command line a lot more because it's just faster. We can take a look at our firewall. Take a look at the traffic going through it. This thing's probably more busy than anything else on our network. For the few people that actually have to VPN in to get to some of their apps. Most everyone else, we use cloud-based SaaS providers for, well, obviously AVIC, for ConnectWise, for Office 365, for example. We take a look at all alerts. Fortunately, there's nothing lately. You can go in and put in documentation about each switch so that whoever comes in behind you, if you have some odd local remote or local configuration that you need to make people aware of, you can put notes in here for them. You can look at an audit log and see, okay, and again, similar to being able to see who has remoted into the desktops, like we talked about on the continuum, we can see which users have done remote management onto other devices. So, for example, you should be able to see that I just opened a terminal connection into this switch just a little bit ago. How long I was there. Now, it's not going to tell somebody all the stuff I did, but the nice thing is this also logs configurations and configuration changes. So that's just a short view of a review of AVIC. With AVIC, again, we're able to provide an exceptional level of support quickly, easily, and remotely. Thank you for spending time with us today. If you have any questions or are, ready to sign up right away, just give us a call, 804-353-5307, or send an email into sales@ctgva.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, you'll be able to learn about some of these special offers that we're running right now to help out the suddenly remote workforce. So give us a call, and thank you once again.